Hey, welcome to Creative Block. We're your host, Gene.
And Vee, we interview people in creative industries about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We asked people on Twitter if they had specific topics they want us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
And today with us, we have Rose Feduk. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Rose.
May I speak now?
Yes, now you may speak. You are allowed.
Thank you. So kind.
This is the Gene and V show, and we just have some people listen to us talk. That's what it really is.
Yeah, and then I'll pick up some sandwiches for us.
We
later.
have like guest listeners, really. That's what it is.
I'm just waiting for your coffee order, basically.
Oh, it's a small chai latte.
All right, right away.
Chop,
sir.
chop. Rose, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about all the things.
All the cartoons. Rose, you've been an illustrator, a storyboard artist, and you're currently a director. And I was going to ask you, like, the broad question of, like, did you always know you wanted to go into art?
No, I didn't. Yes and no, maybe. So do you want my life story?
Yes, please.
Let's hear the life story.
Let's get into my life story. So I guess though when I was a kid, like I really loved drawing. Like I was drawing all the time. I was making my own little books, and my parents are both artists.
Okay.
So they like my mom is a painter, my dad also paints. So they were very encouraging for me to also be drawing and whatnot. And of course, probably like a lot of people that you have on here, like I watched a ton of TV and cartoons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always drawing. I think it started to, well, as a kid, you think of like a bunch of other things that you could do as a career, like veterinarian always comes up, or like,
Yes.
I think I wanted to be like I said rock star during like a childhood like assembly thing where they like ask you like what do you want to be when you grow up, and I said rock star.
Yeah,
which
nice.
It's a good goal.
Good goal.
I'm working on it myself.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not?
If I can do it,
to
anyone can do it. Honestly.
I think I started. So whenever I went into high school, I went to like this academically focused high school that was pretty much like there was one art class with like 15 kids in it, and the school wasn't really focused on like the arts so much as like we need you to like, there were two like pathways you could take, and it was either business or healthcare. So it's like there's no like room for like any like creative kind of pathway there. So I think because of that environment, I was a little bit like, well, I guess you can't do anything with art, so I guess I'll think of something else. So going into college, I actually went in as a linguistics major because for whatever reason I thought like, oh, you can't make money with art, so maybe you can make money with
words.
With a linguistics degree, which I also think is probably not true. I don't think there are very many jobs available unless you want to be a translator or...
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does that even like relate to?
Maybe like, I don't know, maybe there's like in law, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. I think it's mostly like you can
research,
be a professor, you could do research. And I did that for like a year, and then after writing like a 15-page paper on like Greek syntax or something like that, I was like, this is actually awful.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those careers where it's like you kind of just write papers forever. So yeah, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
It was a little bit awful. But I did take like 3 semesters of Mandarin, so maybe that's the benefit. I don't know.
Do you remember any of it?
I think I will not speak any on the podcast for fear of embarrassment, but I can probably say like, "Where's the bathroom?" and I can say thank you.
Okay.
And
That's
hello.
all you really need.
And
Yeah, you got it.
you
You can get around. You can get around with that.
can get around with those 3 things, maybe.
That's all I knew how to say in Japanese when I went to Japan. And look at me, I'm still
And
alive.
you're still here.
You're
I'm still here.
So I think at that point I was like, okay, maybe I do want to do something with art. And I tried to change my major. I couldn't get into the BFA program because I had too many credits, and like it was just like a dumb thing where it was like, if you have too many credits, like you can't apply to that major. So I had like I went in as art education, which I also didn't want to do. I didn't really want to be a teacher, but I was like, this is the closest I'm gonna get, and like what's available to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a painting class, and the painting professor was like, oh, you're a really great painter. I think like you should be in this major. And she actually fought for me to be a studio art major versus art education. So
Oh, that's really sweet.
yeah, she was a I forget her last name, but her first name was Siobhan, Cal State Long Beach. And
what was the you said the studio arts? That was the name of the major?
yeah, so it's like a broad art degree. So it's like you have to do all of these other disciplines. So I did like fiber arts class. I did
that's fun. What is that?
What is fiber arts?
Yeah.
It was like basket weaving and like collages and yeah.
Oh, it's like art made out of material that include fibers.
Dyeing, like indigo dyeing, and like it was actually fun because I got to do like a lot of like hands-on kind of classes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Along with like I took a lot of painting classes. I took illustration classes. Trying to think of what else. I didn't really take any animation classes. I took one character design class. But that's kind of it. So I just had this like very broad like art education background. But at the same sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say like how long was that major? How long did you study that for?
I think in total I was in college for like 5 or 6 years because I had switched my major, so I had to start over.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, I was on staff for the college's newspaper. But it was like an alternative newspaper, like, you know, like an OC Weekly or like an LA Weekly. So it wasn't really like a newspaper. It was more like a alternative magazine kind of paper. It was like the cool kids paper kind of.
Oh.
So like they did it was called the Union Weekly. I don't think it exists anymore, but is like we did features on like reviewing like gas station food. There was like we would do like drunk reviews for like you watch a movie sober and then write the review drunk. It's like all this like crazy like college kid stuff, you know.
Nice.
But I don't know if there's younger
Nah,
listener. It's okay. It's called
Welcome
college
to the adult
stuff.
world.
College stuff.
Yeah.
Over the age of 21, responsible drinking, you know. But I would do illustrations for the paper, and they would assemble the paper every week. So every Saturday, you would have one day basically to assemble like an 11-page paper. So that's like formatting all the text and like making sure like there's a cover and like all this kind of stuff. And like I would basically like stay there every Saturday, and people would be like, oh, I need an illustration for this article. And then I would do like maybe like 4 or 5 illustrations in a night.
Wow. That's crazy. That's like pretty much like real world like illustrating, right? Like with the like quick turnaround and like
so
prompts at the last minute.
Like I had to learn how to draw really fast because it's also like I don't want to stay there all night. Which we did a lot of the time. A lot of the time it was like we would finish at like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Wow. Oh man, that college life.
I know. Like, oh my god, I can't do that anymore. But yeah, I feel like that like kind of got that illustration itch out for me, I guess. And also like I would write for the paper occasionally. Like there was like a satire part of the paper, and I made a character that was like an old lady that would answer your tech questions or like computer questions. And they would all be like these like nonsense answers that like an old lady would, kind of write. So I feel like it was also like creative writing. I got to do some creative writing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I feel like that kind of like help build the muscles a little bit for like boards later on, like that writing and fast, drawing kind of like
I think
experience.
Definitely like having to come up with ideas like very quickly, working very quickly. I feel like that super helped, especially like consistently over like every single week you have to do this.
Yeah. How long did you do it for? Same thing, like
I did it for I want to say like probably like 3 or 4 years out of the time that I was there. So I started as like a staff illustrator, and then I was the comics editor, and then I was the editor-in-chief of the paper. Which was crazy because it was like writing. Like I would have to like copy edit people's writing and stuff like that. So it was like a totally different skill.
It was kind of like supervision, right? Like did you have to do like a little bit of management when you were doing that?
Yeah, it was a lot of management and like making sure like people were getting what they need for their articles, and like pitching ideas for articles, and like I think it was hard because it was like not paid, like no one was paid, so it was like also like like kind of like encouraging people to want to do it unpaid, or like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like keeping morale up, I guess.
Do you feel like that helped you for like later as a director, like that experience in the paper?
Yeah, I think definitely that really helped me. I think just like working with people and like collaborating. I feel like the collaboration aspect was really good. Just because like I don't always have the best ideas, but sometimes it's like sometimes it's better if you like are able to just like bounce off of another person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think like what else would be like a good skill that I would learn from that. I think just like the working fast was like the biggest thing. And then outside of that, I was also doing comic book conventions and anime conventions. I was screen printing shirts, and I would do illustrated prints that I would sell, and then some comics. So I started doing comics that way too, where I started doing like a lot of fan art stuff, and then eventually I was like, okay, maybe I can start selling my own comics. And you sell a handful, and then you're like, wow, I'm a huge success.
You made it big, kid.
I made it big. So through doing conventions, I got lucky that there was actually a recruiter from Cartoon Network that happened to be at WonderCon whenever I was tabling. And
cool.
she was like, "Oh, I had this print, and you'll love this." But it was a print that I had done. It was an Adventure Time piece of Adventure Time fan art, and it said "Denture Time," and and it was Finn and Jake very old. You see the joke.
Great pun.
Great pun. It. But the recruiter saw it and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Do you work in animation?" And I was like, "What?" Because I didn't know. I never even thought about that actually. Like working in animation until like she had brought that up.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Would you be interested?" And I was like, sure, I guess." And so I took her card, and I had a friend at the time who was like, or I still have this friend, my friend Maida. It was my friend Maida, and she was like, "Oh, you have to keep in contact with her." And I was like, "But I don't want to bug her." And she was like, "Well, she's a recruiter. Like, that's like her whole deal is like she's trying to like keep track of new talent and stuff like that." And so I would do basically like do comics just to send to her.
Your one person audience.
My one person audience. And I would like keep in contact with her like every like 6 months or so. I would like reach out to her and be like, "Hey, here's some new stuff that I worked on. Like, this is kind of what I've been doing." Like keeping in contact with her that way, like not like super like bugging her all the time, but just like every once in a while being like, after I had finished something, I'd be like, here's a new comic I did. So I think that was really helpful for her to like remember who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to get me for a Cartoon Network internship, and I applied, and I didn't get it. And then I think like a year passed, and she moved to Disney, and at that time she asked like, do you want to apply for this Disney internship? And I was like, yeah. And so I applied, and I ended up getting that internship. So that was really lucky. That was definitely like a right place, right time situation, where it's like, had I not tabled there or been there that day, like her being in that particular spot, like I wouldn't be here probably. It's just like one of those like, you know.
Yeah, but also you like kind of nurture the relationship, you know, like I think it's all about like just you kept putting out work, you know, you kept just kind of like staying on people's radar, you know, like if it wasn't, you know, it would have been another recruiter if it wasn't her. You know what I'm saying? I know. It's like, you know, yeah. I mean, yeah, doing cons I feel is like a way of like putting yourself out there for sure.
Yeah. I think that's true of what you said, where it's like sometimes like an opportunity will come up, and it's kind of about how you take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's right what you said. So I did this internship. It was through Disney. It was I was put on a show called Pickle and Peanut.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which was really fun. Like that crew was so fun. They were all just bananas, like having a good time. So that was a really fun show to be on. But I think I went into my internship thinking like this was like my only shot kind of, and like I had to like do something, otherwise like I'm never gonna have another opportunity again kind of. Like it felt like a very like do or die situation. So I was like I asked if I could do a practice storyboard, because I had been doing comics, and so I figured like the thing that was closest to doing comics was doing boards. So I asked to do like a practice storyboard, and at first they said no, which I think like none of the other all of the other interns were like doing things to help out the production, which I think is what we were was production interns. But I figured like I would get more out of it if I was able to like do some boards and get some feedback on it. So I just asked, since I kind of wasn't doing anything anyway. I was kind of like stapling papers and like printing out stuff, and so I figured like it would be a better use of time. And so eventually they were like, okay, yeah, I think you can do a practice board. We're gonna launch you at the same time as this other board artist, and then you're gonna follow their schedule basically.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which I didn't pitch the board until the end, but it did give me an idea of like exactly how fast you have to go to like do a board. And it was also a show that was like outline driven.
Yeah.
So I had to like come up with the idea I had to come up with like, the episode. But the other weird thing is that I couldn't interact with the other board artists for legal reasons.
Oh, it's because if you ended up like having a good idea and then like they were like, this is great, and they put in their boards, then it's kind of like that like copyright.
Yeah, like I could sue.
Yeah, it's that thing where it's like literally when on Twitter you see showrunners or people or like writers that like tweet, please don't pitch me any of your ideas. It's because of that. Yeah, so that would make sense, especially because Disney's so big, so they're like super worried about like anything legal. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. So the board artist happened to be Victor Courtwright, who is the showrunner for Thundercats and Aquaman. Oh gosh, I forget the whole title. Aquaman, King of Atlantis.
King of Atlantis, yeah.
Yes.
King of Atlantis. So I developed this relationship with Victor where like we couldn't talk about the episode, but we would like wink wink talk about the episode where we were like, I wish we could talk about the episode. But
wouldn't it be great if this happened?
Yeah. But it was like this weird thing where we were like both in the trenches trying to figure out this thing where like, to be honest, it was like the outline wasn't figured out at all. So we were both like trying to figure out what to do with this episode, kind of being in the trenches at the same time, but never being able to talk about it. So that was kind of a funny thing. But then at the end, like, I forget how many weeks the board, it was probably like 6 weeks. I pitched it to the whole crew. And they loved it. Even though it was like, I kind of didn't really know how to storyboard. So it was like there's like, looking back on it now, it's like, oh, there's like no backgrounds, there's like there's all these weird shots, but I think it was like they liked the ideas that I came up with.
I feel like for board driven, and you can talk about that more later too, because you've been on another board driven show, the Mighty Ones, but I feel like the ideas are kind of what people are looking at for the first pass more than technical. Yeah.
So I think that was good, that it had a good like I got really good response for it. And that it was like so nerve-wracking though, because it was like I'd never done anything like that, and then it was like the intern's gonna pitch something, so it's like, of course, invite like 40 people to come watch.
Oh god.
And it was like executives were there, or they were
just
like,
no.
Yeah, they had like development execs there, where they were just like,
what the fuck,
let's go watch. Yeah.
But did any of did the pitch like spring any like new relationships with all like the people that were there at the pitch?
It did. I think later on there was one development exec that did reach out to me, and I did pitch something because she had seen the pitch, so that was
that's good.
That was good. But I think I came out of it where I was like, all right, I did this pitch. Now I'm gonna get a job, and it's gonna be really easy, and like I got this thing in the bag, right? Because like I got such a big response from the pitch, and they were like, oh yeah, we want to have you back, like all this stuff. And then I applied for the job. Like I went back to school for like a semester, and then once I was out of school, like I applied. There was a position on that show that I applied for, and I didn't get it. Which I understand, because it was like I was really green, like you know, I think like not every show can like take on like a really green person and like have the time to like teach them and stuff. So
yeah, that's one of those things you have to kind of like learn as you go. Like once you've been in it long enough, you realize that all those rejections came for a good reason, you know, because it's like, man, I wouldn't have hired me. Like you start to realize why you were turned down, and it's like, oh, you have to go through it.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was like a wake up call of like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you kind of learn later, like, oh yeah, there's a lot to learn. So I don't remember exactly how many shows I tested for after that. Because I got like after my internship, I got like a couple tests where it was like I was still in the system at Disney, so I was able to like test for a couple shows. But I got rejected a lot over the course of like maybe 2 or 3 years. And it was sort of like, I mean, yeah, like it's like super discouraging, especially like having like gotten the internship.
Yeah.
And not getting a job after that. I feel like it didn't have that perspective yet to see like why I wasn't getting the jobs.
Right.
Yeah, that's true, because it's also like when you test for shows, like no one's gonna tell you what didn't work out. And even if you send an email like, oh, thanks for replying, I'd love to know if there's anything I can improve on the next thing, they're not gonna like reply.
Right. Yeah.
I also think there's not always an answer to give. Like I feel like,
I mean,
it's hard to articulate something. It's like you're not the right fit. Like sometimes you're just not the right fit, you know? Like it's nothing against somebody's work. It's just like I think it's like,
yeah, but you could like, I don't know. I feel like for me, like, because I always do this thing, like when I'm on a show and I look at the little test folder and I look at all the tests, and you know the reason why. Like for example, sometimes it's like they don't board the way that the show is staged. Like for example, like for Loud House, everything is very flat. So if you board anything in like with depth, then you're automatically just not, gonna get it. Or like the humor, like I don't know if it's a show that's like very like slow paced and sweet, and you do like toilet humor, then like not
well totally.
You know what I'm saying?
My point is that like that person it would be an uphill battle to have to like train. It's sort of what Rose is saying. It's like you're gonna have to train that person. There's gonna be a lot of, so it's like not good for anybody to hire somebody, even if their test wasn't like, even if you could give feedback, the feedback would probably a lot of it the time would just be like, you did this wrong, and it's like that's not
or just like really... you just need more experience.
You're not
to be able to jump into this show and keep up.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of people who test who have like really fantastic, amazing tests, and then they'll not get picked.
Yeah.
For like
because that's the style. Because like usually that's gonna be like a style issue.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know. That's just like my personal like opinion is that I think it would be nice to just be like, oh, this is just like, it doesn't exactly fit the style.
I think it would be nice. I think that
but it's a lot of work, so I know why they don't do it, because it's just too much work. because you need an actual creative to take the time to like write it down. Like production won't be able to know exactly what the reason is.
No, they don't know.
And I think like, I mean, being in it now too, like how quickly sometimes you have to be able to find someone.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, yeah. I definitely see now.
Yeah, because you're a director now, so you're kind of on the other side where if you have a say in who you can bring on your team, like, you're probably. I mean, I don't know. I've been a director as well, and it's like having one green artist, maybe it can deal, but then if you have like a all green artist, then it's like oof.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of work.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, and like the kind of show. I think like the kind of environment. Like I wouldn't want to bring on like a super green artist if the show was like already in shambles, you know.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, because then it's also like not a good experience. Like
like you don't want someone to have like a horrible first experience. But where was I? What were we talking about?
Oh, we were talking about you like taking a bunch of tests.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah.
So I had taken all these tests, rejected again and again and again, and I think finally like Victor reached out to me because he had gotten Thundercats Roar greenlit. And he asked me to take a test, and he picked me to come on the show, and which was awesome. And I think like I was lucky that there were a lot of people on that show that were willing to teach me. Like Vee.
Who's that?
Who's that? It was like a good group of people where it was like everyone had a lot to teach and show, and like there were like a lot of different varieties of boarding styles. Like there were people who could do like very actiony crazy boards, like Jeremy Polgar was on the show for a bit, and he can do these, you know, you all know he can do these crazy action boards, and like other people with like super funny boards. So like I think it was a really good, well, I wouldn't say like really good first experience. It was an experience where like I learned a lot about I learned a lot very quickly, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like the camaraderie on the show was just like really strong. That was just really nice. Like it was tough, but it was also like we had fun, and people were like
fun.
People were like
we
sweet,
have fun here.
You know, people were sweet, and
people were
like,
nice.
Yeah, I think that does a lot. Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk some shit. Enough of this nice, everyone great. Let's get into it.
What's the real story?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it was just like a show that was like, it was definitely a lot because it was like very fast paced.
I mean, like I mean, I can say like I was so burnt out by the end of that show because it was my first show ever, and everyone was kind of giving like 110%, and the schedule was very condensed. It was only like a 4-week schedule for an 11-minute board with board partners, but still like, you know,
no, that's tight.
You would do like all these huge action scenes. Like there was an episode where like there was a big race with like vehicles, and so you know that's God. Like that was a doozy. So yeah, it was a lot of work, but
and after Thundercats, what did you jump on?
After Thundercats, I jumped on We Lost Our Human, which is this like interactive project from Netflix, from the creators of Pinky Malinky. So Chris and Ricky, and I don't think I can say too much about it. I can say that it's interactive. Yeah, it's
still not out.
Still not out.
Man, so that's been in the works for a while, huh?
Oh, like, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
at least 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
3 or 4.
More than that,
Yeah.
I think.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
But it sounds
these
like
things
it's
take a
also
while.
just like a big one. It sounds like it's a big project.
Super incredibly ambitious project. I think it's gonna pay off, but that was like a completely different environment, workflow. Just because of the types of considerations that you have to take with your board with that sort of format. Not to say too much, but it's just like it was like starting all over, kind of.
But yeah, like, and then after this one, because this one you were like on for a year ish.
I think it was about a year, and then I jumped onto Aquaman after that, which was Victor's other project, and that was a feature, or it was like 44-minute episodes. So that was like a totally different experience, where it was like, instead of taking like half of an episode, you were taking just like a little chunk at a time. So we would do like a week at a time on these like little scenes, which I actually liked that. Kind of just like working on a little scene.
Oh yeah, rather than the full episode.
Yeah. Which was nice, and I had already had this like working relationship with Victor, so I kind of knew like the kind of boards that he wanted, so that was good. And I got to do some more action-y stuff. Sometimes I consider my strengths to be like more like writing and comedy focused versus like I had to do action boarding on Thundercats because it was like every episode had, you know, insane scenes with like fights or like action or something, stuff like that. But I feel like I finally got to do my like big action moment at the end of in the third episode when Scavenger and Mara are like, they have this big like underwater fight, and there's like I feel like I did that pretty good, so I was proud of that. I was like, well, I did my little action scene. So I'm trying to think what I did after that.
Mighty Ones? When were you on the Mighty Ones?
I think, oh yeah. So after that I went on the Mighty Ones, which was a board driven show. And so you're working by yourself with a director who can give input on an 11-minute episode. And I had the only experience I had was like doing that board for Pickle and Peanut, where it was like, that was all, because that was also board driven. So it was like writing an episode from scratch. And by this time I had taken like a writing class, which I was so glad that I had taken this writing class, because you do have to like write an episode as a writer, like from scratch, like, and that's how I would begin those episodes, is I would write like a script and then start based off of that.
Oh wow. That's a lot. How did you do your schedule on that? How did you kind of like plan that?
I think it would be like the first couple days I would write like a really rough script, and then I would show my director and get their thoughts based on that. And then I think it was the same sort of thing where it was like you would do like a whole pass, like one very bare bones, like blocked out, like just seeing the story pass. And then luckily on that show we could be super rough and stuff, which I loved, because it's like it's like I have this illustration background, but I feel like I hate cleaning up boards. I don't
think anyone likes it.
I guess yeah, like we're all coming clean here, right? Like we all hate cleaning up boards.
I think for me, okay, I'm the only one that's gonna be like,
I
do like cleaning up boards, because then I don't have to think, and I could just like listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I get that. It's like busy work. I get that.
It's just busy work, and then I'm thinking,
it's like
just relax.
If you just didn't have to do it, you know, like if you had the same amount of time, but you could just do rough boards and then move on, and not worry about cleaning up. Like, I feel like that is ideal because then you don't have to redraw everything. Does that make sense?
I agree, but also I don't like having to come up with ideas all the time. I like doing like a big brainstorm moment, and then I need the time to
helps you cool down.
To cool down, yeah. Because if I have to always come up with ideas and then draw on them, for me, I don't know. I have this. This is the V minute. But I don't know. I feel like when I like brainstorm and come up with ideas, I actually really hate drawing them right away. I don't like doing for me that's the hardest part. But then if I rough out everything and then I have to clean it up, then I'm like, nice. I can only look at the lines.
Nice.
I don't have to think too hard. I can just like because it's that thing where it's like, it's like doing chores, you know. It's like, oh, I know by when the chore is done, it's done. I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay.
That's all. That was my little spiel. That's my hot take.
All right.
But if the schedule permits, though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If you only have like 2 weeks to do a fucking full clean ass board, then no, I don't want to clean it up.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
From start to finish, you know.
Gosh, no.
Yeah. That's cool though. Like, so you were writing, and then your director would give you notes on it, and then on the script, and then you could just kind of like turn in the rough parts.
Yeah, but it would be like, I think because of like the boards don't have to be as like clean. Like a lot of the notes were like writing based, like which. Oh my gosh, my phone's ringing. Sorry.
Okay, we'll cut it out. Actually, answer the call. Let's hear it.
It's my mom.
Let's talk to mom on the show.
Mom, answer this question. Oh gosh, what was it? What did you ask me?
I was just kind of wondering about like kind of like the process was like, but then you were turning in the rough boards and that, but like that's kind of the show that you're working on right now. Is it script? Can you say if it's script driven or board driven?
It is script, which I think I prefer script. I think I like writing, but I think it's just like the added. But I think like on a board driven show, it's like I think the Mighty Ones happened to be like there was enough time in the schedule where it was like it was okay for it to be board driven. But I think a lot of the time on board driven shows, it's like there's actually not a lot of time to like really, you know, it's like you have two jobs in one, where it's like you have to be the writer and then you also have to be the board artist,
right?
And I feel like I don't want to be in that kind of situation.
Yes.
Especially because it's like you're doing this additional job and you're not getting paid for this additional job. It's usually like you're offered like a similar rate, sometimes a little bit more, but like, you know.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
I agree. I know. It's just a lot. It's just I agree. Board driven is like, it sounds nice, but it's only nice if you have the time for it, which
a lot of shows don't.
Yeah. Actually on Thundercats, that was a thing where like they wanted it, I think Victor wanted it to be board driven, but then it's like because the schedule was just so tight, it was like
yeah. I think it's good to have a script, at least to like have a starting point.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it. You know, when you think of it as a pipeline, and it is, you're just you're creating less opportunity for error, right? Like, it's if somebody else's job is to think about making the story work, then the artist can focus on making the drawings work. They can, you know, on every other aspect, basically, of figuring out the episode. But if you're asking one or even two people to figure out everything, that creates holes, and that creates like pressure and stress, which ultimately makes everything kind of crumble. And so like it is sometimes more fun and more fulfilling to do board driven, but if you're trying to create a production where things aren't a pressure cooker, you're just taking some pressure off of people, which is never a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I did have a good experience on the Mighty Ones, just because the schedule was, you know, there was enough time in the schedule to like to like actually like if there was a major problem in the script or the story, it's like there's actually enough time to like fix it. But yeah, that was a really good experience because of I feel like having the writing skill is really important for directing.
Oh yeah.
Just being able to like track things in the story, like character arcs, like what should be happening by like act 1, act 2, act 3, like I feel like that's sort of the most important thing. Maybe not the most important thing, but I feel like that's like a crucial skill for directing is just being able to pick on like up on like what the big moments are and like just like making sure the story makes sense.
Yeah. Do you feel like if it's okay for you to talk about directing on Tiny Toons, because I've directed on 2 shows. One was adult and one was a blender show, and I was wondering kind of like how directing on your show is like, if you can talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, I think I can. It's
like kind of like what kind of meetings, kind of like what are the different steps, kind of like what are the expectations on like each different step of the pipeline, that kind of stuff, like the technical aspect, I guess.
Like what my job entails?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's I have a team of 2 board artists, and at the beginning of the episode, I'll get the script and then kind of break up the script into, sometimes it'll be like 5 different sections or 6 different sections. Sometimes it'll be like split just clean 3 ways, but it's like splitting it between the 2 board artists, and then myself, I'll take a small section, just based on like what I think is going to be like basically like a pain in the butt for for anyone else to do, or like things where it's like it requires like more bandwidth than other sections. Or if it's like just like a crucial spot in the episode where I'm worried like it's going to be like a difficult sell or something like that. Not that like my board artist wouldn't be able to do it, but I think it's just like if it's something where it's like I feel like it might get reworked a couple times, like I might
totally
save them the hassle.
Consider it.
Then we'll have like a thumbs pitch after 2 weeks, and in between that time, I would say to launch the episode, we kind of like talk about like where, if there are any questions, like if there's any spots where we feel like it's sort of unclear or it could be more clear, and then like I'll present some like designs that I've kind of come up with, if there's like a specific location or like a prop that's reused a bunch of times. I'll do some sketches like that where it's like if we have to use it across the board, then just to make sure like everything's like unified. And then I'll check in usually like once a week to see how everyone's doing, how their progress is, and I'll give notes. I'll have them like soft pitch what they have to me, and then I'll give notes based on that. And I'm usually looking for like just clarity for the thumbs pitch. It's just like making sure like everything's clear. Usually not looking for like jokes or like punch up or anything, just like pure story stuff. And this is also my first directing job, so I feel like I'm kind of like just like there's a lot of things that I've learned just from like talking to other people who are also directors. So
no, but that's good though, because I feel like we don't really often talk about directing. Like, I don't know, because directing is like this kind of job that is just like, what's the word? Like you're a support role, and you're just making sure that everything's like going smooth, and so you're not really in the spotlight like the other roles could be. So people don't really like talk that much about it, because like on Twitter you can't really just like be like, I directed this, because then it's like, you know, the board artist did all the work,
right?
But
I feel like oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but there's like a lot of work that goes unseen, like kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of prep.
Yeah, a lot of prep. I think my main job is to sort of make the board artists look the best that they can, and make their work look the best that it can.
Yeah.
In addition to like the main overarching goals of like, is it clear and is it entertaining?
Right. Yeah. I mean, not to say that it's like thankless, but I do think that, because you get paid, but I do think that directing for TV animation sometimes does fall by the wayside, because for one reason or another, people look at storyboard artists like the stars, and
but even then,
but
even the board artists sometimes are like, I don't know. I feel like maybe if you did some cool boards like on the Turtles, then you get a little bit of spotlight. But most of the board artists you don't really get. Like, nobody knows the names of the board artists who worked on like Rick and Morty, so you know.
That's
nobody
true.
knows the names of the
nobody knows.
But it's like certain shows, right? Like there's certain shows where all of us, it's like everyone knows who it is, but it's usually like the Adventure Times, and you know.
Yeah, it's like the hits, and it's because also they're like board driven, so they're like basically the writers. But, yeah.
I do like though that it is a lot of like collaborating, because like I'll try and like with my board artists, like just like thinking of like funnier jokes, or like just being like, wouldn't it be funny if like he had a like big hat or something like that, and then we'll like try and come up with like and then we'll like try and come up with the hat design, or like, this is an example just because I can't say like the real stuff that, you know.
Yeah, of course.
I'm liking this big hat bit. This is good.
Yeah, there's a Tiny Toons episode with a really big hat.
You heard it here first. This is a Creative Block exclusive.
Yeah. So like, I really like that part of just being in animation in general, is just joking around with people.
Sure.
Which is like which is the best part of the job, I think, is just like making each other laugh, and like I feel like that's like the biggest like fulfillment, is kind of just like if we can make a funny thing together. I don't know.
I agree. I feel like it's the best. I don't know. I agree. I feel like when I can pitch a thing, or like, you know, help someone with a sequence and they pitch it and it goes really well, it's like, yes.
Yeah.
It feels very rewarding, because it's like, well, if you're lucky to have like EPs that are appreciative, because, you know, depending on the show, but if an EP is like, haha, this was great, like, my job here
is done, and then you right off,
put on sunglasses.
Sunset.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. What a crazy job.
What a crazy job.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead,
Rose.
Gene.
I was going to ask, how do you deal with creative block when it happens to you, and what does it feel like for you?
Ooh, what does it feel like? I think that I think the two ways that I've figured out how to deal with it are, first thing is like taking care of myself. So it's like, if I'm like, oh, I'm really burnt out, or I'm really stuck, or I am not, like, I really want to draw something and I can't think of anything, or like whenever I'm in that spot, kind of just recognizing with myself first, like, okay, well, have you eaten anything? Have you like gone outside in a while? Have you like been sleeping okay? Or like kind of like trying to just get out of my own head a little bit and just, you know, that whole like touch grass kind of mentality, which I'm not always the best at, because I feel like just in general as a person, I feel like I get stuck in my own head a lot. Just as like a person with anxiety in general, you know.
Sure. Same hat.
Same hat. Big hat again. Callback.
Big hat. Funny hat.
Big anxiety hat.
Big anxiety. Yeah, it's just a big cowboy hat with anxiety written on the top.
V, if you can draw a big hat.
V,
I will. New page.
Also, we share the hat.
And you share the hat. You two do.
Wow.
So I think like making sure like my needs are taken care of, and like if I haven't, you know, like if I haven't taken care of myself first, then it's like you're not gonna be able to like get very much done anyway. Which I feel like I've become better at like recognizing those signs of like I need to take a break. Just over time I've just been able to recognize it. I think the other thing to do whenever a creative block hits is I've learned to ask other people for help. So I think like if I'm stuck on an idea, I have a lot of super talented other board artists and director friends, and I'll just be like, hey, is this making any sense to you? Can I like run this joke by you, and is it making any sense? And then like getting their feedback on it, I feel like helps a lot. And I feel like sometimes people feel like I can't ask anyone for help on this idea because like then it's not my idea, or like
yeah.
And I feel like it doesn't matter. I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
I feel like it's much better to just, because like everything's collaborative. Everything is not like one person, one genius.
Yeah,
you know, coming up.
Rarely,
with
very rarely.
Very rarely. You know, like that's the whole thing with like, you know, everyone you can think of, like it's like people are like, oh, like not to talk about Lord of the Rings because I have a lot to say about Lord of the Rings, but it's like people will be like, we're about to. You know, they're like, oh, Peter Jackson, what a genius! He made like the trilogy of Lord of the Rings, and it's so great and a masterpiece. And then it's like he had like a team of like thousands and thousands of people, where it's like
also the books are like really old.
The books, right?
It's a pretty good template to go. It's a good guide.
Yeah, but I mean, because I've watched like all of the extended like DVD like behind the scenes stuff, and it's like he's constantly like asking people like their input, and stuff like that. So it's like it's not just him; it's like, you know, him.
Yeah. I think that's so. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's him like recognizing like whenever he's stuck, or like whenever he's not the expert on something, like you can ask other people and get their input, and then, you know, you make a great thing that way.
Yeah, most people want to help. Like I've had to realize that like when you have a project and you feel like you want to like do it yourself and you want to impress and show how much of a genius you are, but it's like then you end up just boxing yourself into this really high, like you've created a bar for yourself that you can't even hit because nobody's a genius.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but friends are always like, yeah, dude, let me help. And I will also like always help. Like somebody comes to me and I'm like, dude, I don't care. I don't need credit. Like I don't fucking give a shit. I just want to help.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I try and be like that with my friends, where it's like, I just want to, I'm your friend, and I just want to help you do, like, the best version of like in the end you're going to do this project, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You're going to have to execute this project.
Yeah, the burden's on you, buddy. Like, you're the one who has to make this thing now.
Yeah, like I'm not responsible for this whole project that you're doing just because I said it would be funny if the guy had a big hat, you know?
God, I love this hat, though.
I love this hat.
This is a good hat.
But yeah,
check out this hat. Follow us on YouTube.
You got to sell this anxiety hat. As
it would do
now. It would probably do really well.
Yeah.
Okay, Malik, write this down. We gotta.
Let's make it a baseball hat. It'll sell easier.
I think we just came up with our first Creative Block official product.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I am not. We're gonna look into this. We have to do a Creative Block meeting at some point, and we're gonna talk about this hat.
Anxiety hat, nice. But yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you guys were saying. I feel like there is a little bit in the media, a little bit too much that's put on the single person. I don't know why. For some reason, people in the media just want to be like, it's this person did everything by themselves. What a genius! And it's like most of the time, it's not true. Like,
yeah, or like
at least in entertainment.
Yeah,
you know.
Or it's just like all those like painters or writers of eons ago where it was like you find out that like their wife was like also
yeah 100%.
Or is that like the Big Eyes whole thing where the wife was actually the one doing all of the art?
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, like I ask my partner is a really good writer, and I ask them all the time for like writing help, and you know, why not help each other?
Why not?
Yeah, I ask Justin all the time for help with writing. He's great. He's awesome.
Shout out.
Do we want to do some Twitter questions?
Okay.
From @OrcSocks. Hi Rose, longtime fan of your work. What little freak from Lord of the Rings is your favorite to draw? I just love this. I love this question.
That is my partner.
Okay. You have an answer. Yeah, I know you have an answer.
I have an answer. I think Gimli. Maybe we'll say Gimli. He's
such a good little freak.
Yeah, he's the king. He's just a squat little dwarf guy, you know. Got the big beard. I feel like the dwarves are fun to draw because they have big beards. I don't know if that's
good shapes.
Good shapes. Good shapes.
That's a good answer. From @Dimpsdoodles. I've always admired your color choices in your personal pieces. Any tips on mastering color theory and finding a general palette that works for you?
Okay, color theory. I think actually if you look at a lot of my illustrations, they are mostly like primary colors or the, you know, orange, purple, green, trifecta. Those are called complementary colors? I forget.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
But usually with like a palette, I'll start with like 2 main colors and then kind of like from there kind of branch off and pick like complementary colors. I think like taking all those painting classes in college did really help, because whenever you're painting, it's like you're relying on only color. Like if you're doing like an oil painting, it's like you know, you just like the way that you're making the shapes is like how the colors like play off of each other. If you have like a desaturated color next to like a really saturated color, like that's making like a form. So does that answer the question?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I feel like, yeah, you talking about starting with just 2 colors, it's like, I think that is something that's really important in coloring, because
I think I start very simple first, or like I'll start with like 1 color that I want to be the primary color, and then just go from there, because I also don't like super the way that I like to work. I don't like to actually, I actually don't like to think about the color too much. I think I just want to keep it simple, and so I'll kind of like just stick to like a basic palette and then do some polishing here and there. And I do use a lot of Photoshop overlays, just putting it out there. That's
the truth comes out.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's covering up a lot of the like places where like the colors aren't, you know, like I'm not coming out the gate like straight out of my brain with perfect colors. It's like I am, you know, I'm using a little bit of help, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Everyone does it.
Everyone does it.
Mm-hmm.
From @MFisherDraws, Megan Fisher, friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, Rose. Do you think your background in illustration and comics helped you get to where you are today?
Yes. I think from the perspective of composition, because whenever you're figuring out like a layout for a board, it's kind of you have to use those like principles of like image composition, where it's like, where do you want the eye to focus? Look at this. What is this Coca-Cola on a stool drawing that's happening in the Jamboard in the airplane?
I'm just letting V do this thing.
This is a whole other story that I don't know if I have time to explain what this is from. But to answer the question, like,
just letting V go off. It's fun.
Sorry, now I distracted you.
I'll tell this story after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I took like a 2D design class in college that was super helpful, because it was like a lot of what we did was like tracing illustrations and like figuring out like, where does the eye lead, and like what's like the most important thing in the image. And so like whenever you're boarding, it's kind of like you know, thinking about that for like layouts, like what like the golden ratio and like
right.
that sort of thing, like where should the elements be within like those 4 lines of the border of the drawing. And yeah, I think also just like that experience that I had in college where I had to like do 1 million illustrations in one night was probably the biggest thing.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna explain really quick this Coke and airplane thing. So there was a Thundercats Roar episode where it was like Prince Starling is he's like this prince who is very small, and then he ends up growing very large. And so like other board artists, Katie Graziano and Megan Fisher, who were board partners, they had to do like all these shots where there's like a lot of like scale difference, where you like have to show that he's like very big and stuff like that. And we were talking about it, and then I said like, oh, in my in this water class, or this watercolor class that I took, my professor told me like, if you want to show something is very big or very small, like how to show scale, like you put something that everyone knows the scale of in front of it or behind it, so that you can see the scale overlapping and know like exactly how big those things are. So I was like, if you put like, for example, like if you have like a really big giant and you put like an airplane in front of him, it's like, oh my god, he's so big. Or if you have like a Coke can next to like a tiny little person, or like in front of a tiny little person, then it's like, you know how small they are. And I said this to them, and then they were like, okay, so you want us to draw a Coke can? And then they just started drawing all these Coke cans into the board, and they're like this, and then like they're like, and I was like, no, don't do that. And then they were like, okay, but you want us to draw an airplane? And then they started drawing all these airplanes into the board.
It's very clear direction.
And so like they were just messing with me that way, and like every time they bring this up so often where it's just like there'll be something like really big, and I don't know, there'll always be like a context for this where they'll just be like, oh, just draw an airplane in front of it and that'll fix it. And
Fixed.
Anyway, so that's the explanation. You don't have to put that in the podcast, but that's just for everyone to know.
That's how you do it. Do the Coke and the airplane. I didn't even remember that it was just to show scale. I thought it was like a perspective lesson. I don't know.
Coke and airplane.
Coke and airplane.
From a question from @Malkman is here. If you could make an animated film or TV series set in any country, where would it be?
Oh, set in any country? That's interesting. Wow, so specific.
What's like a country that has good vibes, you know? Somewhere you would want to...
Now I'm determined to come up with an answer. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because I think that I prefer to like make up places.
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe the country is Middle Earth.
Yeah, maybe the country is Middle Earth. Maybe a country I can make up. We'll call it Hatland. Everyone wears a hat. I don't know. Yeah,
I like it already.
I like it already. I don't know. I think that's something like I would like to explore in the future, is doing stuff that's more like grounded in like real life versus like I think in my personal work I do like a lot of fantasy or like just like a really like stylized version of the world we live in versus like these 6 kids going to high school in Southern California.
Yeah.
I will say Iceland.
Oh yeah, huh? Yeah.
It's a good answer. Mm-hmm. It's very pretty. I want to go. I've never been.
That's my answer.
It's a good answer. Yeah. Last but not least, from Adam Bills. What do you think you'd be doing if you were not in the animation world? Also, do you have a favorite snack/physical activity to help pump you up?
Ooh, pump me up.
Pumped.
Full disclosure, I don't do that much physical activity, so that might be...
Okay.
I love the favorite snack question. That's a good question. To answer the favorite snack, I definitely am a big chips and salsa kind of person.
Okay.
I feel like that's festive too. So if you want to get pumped up, you're like, ooh, taking a little snack break.
Festive.
Yeah. You have your chips.
Siesta.
Yeah, you have your chips, you have your salsa, you know, it's a little spicy, you get your nose running, get the I feel
You're
like
painting a picture.
Yeah, I'm completely making this up, but it's like, you know, you have the spicy I feel like spicy food like gets your blood pumping, you know.
Yeah, it sure does.
Get you ready to get in the zone. I do have if I'm really in a bind to get started working, or like I have a deadline and I'm like up against the wire, this is gonna be the most insane sounding thing, but I have this playlist that's like the like Red Alert playlist where it's like it's only Elton John songs.
Okay.
I love that. That's so great.
It's a clean like 30 minutes of Elton John songs, but it's like all his bangers, like all the best ones. And I listen to it over and over until the deadline is done, basically. And I mean, like, I can't listen to these songs anymore outside of this method, but I feel like there's songs that are so familiar that it's like you're not going to get distracted by the content of the song. It's like, you know, like you've heard these songs so many times before, and then they're all like upbeat, you know, so it's like this is like it's just something that like tricks my brain into being like, okay, focus mode now.
I wonder how many people have a playlist like this, because I also have one, but it's all EDM, where it's just like, and let's like, to get you pumped.
Like it's just noise at that point. It's like noise with like higher beats per minute, where it's just like,
familiar noise.
Your like animal brain is like, oh, we gotta wake up.
Yeah. If I need to get something done and I need to do it fast, I'll put on the Slipknot live album 9.0.
I think everyone has something like that.
Oh man, and I just fucking go, man.
Yeah, and then
shit
you can
done.
do anything.
I could,
anything.
Yeah. Climb a mountain. I could kill a man.
Wow.
Well, that was all the questions we got. Yeah, no, don't look for me, or maybe do. Maybe I've done something terrible.
Oh no.
Oopsie.
What are your goals for the future, Rose?
My goals for the future, you mean like career-wise?
Whatever you want.
Any goals. Any goals that you want. It could be, I don't know. Could be home living related. Could be
home living related. Okay.
Pets.
Pet related.
What's gonna make you happier?
Ooh, that's a bigger question.
That's a loaded question.
I think career-wise, I feel pretty good where I'm at right now, which I don't know is like the no thing you should ever say.
No, why? Fuck
always,
it. If you're happy, it's great.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes people are like, if you're not like hungry for the next thing, like, are you even alive?
That's exhausting.
I feel pretty happy where I'm at right now. I think if anything, I would want to maybe look into like publishing like illustrated children's book or graphic novel. I think that I would like that.
Yeah, your art's a really good fit for it. I could definitely see that.
Thank you, Gene.
You're welcome.
And maybe a short, maybe an animated short. These are lofty goals.
I think you can do it. I think
so.
you got it. I think you can totally do it.
If I can get a short, anyone can get a short.
Oh, Gene.
You just have to convince people that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, which hopefully with a crisp $20 bill.
Yeah, you just slide $100 bill. You're not going to get it with 20. $100 bill, you slide it across the pitch table. Or like Venmo. If it's sorry, we're in a time of Zoom. If you Venmo somebody $100, then they'll give you the short.
Exactly.
Just like Operation Varsity Blues. This is how you get anything you want.
Yeah, bribe your executives. That's the only way things get done.
And I've lost millions this way.
Yes. No, it's a terrible idea. But someday it's gonna work, and then you'll all see. Then I'll be right. I'm very broke. But I think that's good. I don't think there's any shame, I guess.
Yeah.
In being happy where you are. That's good.
Yeah. I think like life-wise, I've kind of come to a point where it's like I feel like I've spent a lot of time the past couple of years just working.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see other people more. Just, like I feel like we've all kind of realized this with like the pandemic and stuff, but just like, that's the spice of life is like, like hanging out with other people, like reconnecting with people that you've lost contact with. Like, I feel like that's my next big thing.
I think it's good. That's a great goal.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, that's the end of this creative block. Rose, thanks for being our guest and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thanks to our listeners. Follow us on Twitter. It's at Creative Block, creative without the vowels, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to our editor, Clements, for editing the podcast, and Malik for helping us produce the show.
And if you love our show, then support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews as well as bonus episodes. Click the link in the description of this episode. I've been your host, Gene.
And I was Vee. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.